Hey, welcome to, what the fuck? Always an uncomfortable time to focus on TV with in light of the recent tragedy. So it's always weird to engage in kind of the nonsense that I do for a living. Our condolences and prayers to folks in Boston, and sounds like it was kind of a crazy night there. What's going on here? Turning in my draft is 602 to the network today, giving notes on a writer's draft of 603, and we finished breaking 604 in the room, and Kim will start writing that this weekend, and we begin breaking 605 on Monday. That's the process. Had our first sort of pre-production meeting yesterday with Paris and JP and Tony Medina, my set designer, and just looking, basically deciding, we shoot the show, all the interiors in the same place on our lot in the beautiful North Hollywood, and so from season to season, obviously some of those sets are permanent, like Clubhouse and Jax's house and Gemma's house and Clay's house. Portions of the hospital are permanent sets, but we sort of go through and go, okay, what sets are we going to need and not need this season, and then so we can kind of figure out what we potentially may need to build, and just making space for that. It's just like, it's like putting together a giant puzzle each year in terms of space and what sets will fit where, and Tony and his crew do an amazing job at making that all work and feel real. What else? Casting wise, nothing new. I think we talked about Drea already. Drea coming back for at least a couple, hopefully more. I think that's it. I will go to questions, and these are questions I'm getting from the website. My website, sutterinc.com. There's a section there for asking questions. Let's see. Kurt, that's me. I'm always curious about how writers choose names for their characters. Phone book, friends and family names, etc. Can you enlighten? Not phone book. Do people even use phone books anymore? Sometimes, sometimes it just sort of happens in the writing, and I don't quite know where the names come from. Sometimes it's friends. I think I shared this story, but on the Shield, we would always fuck with Sean and give our characters like really obvious names, like like we had a storyline, I forget what season it was, where we had this kid, and his dad was a junkie, and we were calling him Junkie Dad, and we had some other character, and we ended up calling like the kid Sonny because he was the son, and the dad JD because he was Junkie Dad, and we would just give the characters these sort of inside joke names, and half the time Sean didn't even realize. I'm sure my writers do the same thing to me, and I'm not even aware of it. Sometimes it's just because I'm lazy, and I think most folks know I have a son named Jackson, and that just seemed easy. So it's a little bit of everything. Sometimes I'll give a character a name, and then I'll get the name won't clear, and because I think what it is if you pick a name like if you pick John Smith, there are thousands of John Smiths, so a name like that would clear. But if you pick a name that's unique because you're trying to be unique, and there's only one or two people with that name, then clearance usually comes back saying choose another name. So sometimes names, especially for businesses and in the show, a lot of times those names are just ultimately shit that I was able to clear. Let's see. Do you have any plans on a season 7 of SOA? I hope so. The plan is to do 7 seasons. Somebody asked me yesterday about whether or not we would be potentially doing 8 seasons or more than 7, and I don't think so. And I don't mean to be purposefully vague with that, but what usually ends up happening, and again, I've shared this 1,000 times, but like around episode 6, 7, 8 of a season, I really get a sense of where that's going and potentially how that's going to end, and at that point, I have an idea of what the following season may look like, or at least what the thrust of the story will be going into that following season, and I can kind of start to see it a little bit, and that's probably when I'll know definitely or definitively that I can close this all out in 17 episodes. Potentially maybe I get a couple more episodes in season 8 7 if I need it. I don't know. I mean, those are all conversations I would have to have with the studio and the network, but as it is right now, it all looks like it'll be coming to a head and ending at the end of 13 episodes in season 7. Here's a good question, and it's a good question in not just for this character, but just in the sense of returning characters. It's from Crystal in Charlestown, South Carolina, and her question is, where is Lowell, and will he be back ever? Who asked me that other question about season 7? Oh, they didn't leave their name. Okay. Here's the deal. Lowell will not be back, and not because I don't like the actor. He's a great actor, and what ends up happening sometimes is I think we had plans to bring that character back in season 3. Yeah, we did. We actually had a little, like a 4 or 5 episode arc. And the actor wasn't available. He was, doing. I think he had 2 movies back to back, and then so that story never happened. And then what happens, I think, is when too much time passes, you have the hurdle of re-engaging or re-establishing that character with the audience. But you also have the narrative hurdle of where was that character, why is he back now, you know. So to me, whenever I'm faced with things like that, it's usually difficult to find a expedient and organic way to get into those stories quickly. So, and the last thing I want to do is spend, like, you know, a minute or 2 minutes of screen time giving exposition about a secondary character and where they've been and why they're back and blah blah blah. You know, because my time on this show, my screen time is so limited, and I'm constantly pushing the boundaries on it already. So it's difficult sometimes to just have those characters show up out of the blue, and that's why I usually end up avoiding it. You know, obviously, if there's something that happens and it dovetails into the story where it's such a natural progression that I know that any exposition bringing back that character will easily move the story forward, and therefore it's not really chewing up screen time to reestablish. It's whatever the screen time is, it's moving the narrative forward. But it's difficult to do, and that character of Lowell, I think, it was an interesting little character piece and a mythology piece for Clay and Gemma, and I don't really think that is needed at this stage of the series. So, but in general, sometimes that's the challenge with bringing back characters we've seen in the past. Let's do one more. Let's see. Kurt. This is from Kelly Thier from Brandon MBCA. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming someplace in California. Montebello? I don't know. How much time passes between the table read and the shooting of the episode? Very little time. In fact, sometimes we're doing the table read the first day of we shoot that episode. The table read usually happens right before we shoot, what happens is I'll do a production draft, and and then I'll we'll have some production meetings, and we'll get the locations, and then the script will get tweaked and changed a little bit based on some production notes, based on some scheduling realities, and so I usually try to wait till later in the process of that prep period. We have a week of prep before the episode shoots. I try to wait till the end of that prep period, so if the script gets manipulated or changed, we're reading the most current draft. So it usually happens like right before we start shooting, and as I said, sometimes we get so backed up or actor availability is so limited that, or more often than not, a majority of my cast is out at a location the day or 2 days before we start shooting that episode. So sometimes we literally will do it at lunch during the first day of that episode. So that's what's going on. That's it. Have a safe and whole weekend, and I'll try to do Q&A this Tuesday. Thanks.